Welcome to the Welsh Yogi Podcast. Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine.
Okay, welcome to another episode of the Welsh Yogi Podcast, coming to you almost live from Cardiff. With myself, Gopal, the ever-fresh Bhaktirupa, and the French Adonis. Parjanya is our guest today. Nice to have you, Parjanya.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
So those of you who don't know Parjanya Gopa, he is from France. He's started practicing Bhakti Yoga and Krishna consciousness in New Zealand. Am I correct?
Yeah.
And there you joined the ashram and lived the monk lifestyle, and then you came over to Wales and have been practicing and studying Bhakti Yoga for how long in total now?
Almost 7 years. Actually.
7 years. Recently left the monk ashram, and you're going to be, your wedding's at the end of the year, right?
Yeah, September.
Govinda's. Am I invited?
September, yeah.
Yeah.
In Swansea.
Okay. So, Bhaktirupa, you wanted to have, we like having guests on, and Parjanya is a nice person to come on because he's got some qualities that are quite inspirational, especially that of, wanting to care for people. You're someone who strikes me as you're generally interested in people, you like relationships, and you want to give them spiritual tools, right? You want to help other people experience what you've experienced, is that right?
Yeah.
Is that what inspires you?
Well, I feel like I received something amazing that I don't actually even deserve. And I'm able to experience like a great lifestyle and have a great association, friends, and like living a very fulfilling life. And I feel like it's nice to be able to try to give it to others as well. And in that way we experience even more happiness actually.
What tips can you give me in? Because you do care about people, do you? I can see that. I'm someone who's just...
I'm inspired by you.
I just don't care about anyone like you.
No, I'm inspired by you actually. You're one of my big inspiration. Gopal Roy Prabhu. You've been...
And you're humble as well.
But that's true, I'm saying. You've inspired so many people, but what was the question? How can you...
Well, what inspires you to get out? Because you've done a lot of like with food, for example, when the pandemic hit, right? COVID-19, which no one talks about anymore. Yeah. But
it didn't happen.
It was. You're going to get me on these conspiracy theories.
No, I don't.
And, don't go
on track.
Vaccine. So
9/11 was an inside job. Sorry.
So what was I saying now?
No, you're saying at the beginning.
That we were feeding. We're giving out sometimes 1,000 meals a day, right, to people in need.
Yeah.
And you were one of the main cooks. You were literally thrown in there and had to cook for thousands of people sometimes every day.
Yeah.
And you're still doing that, right? You still cook for Food for Life. You cook for our cafe.
Yeah.
How do you do it? What gets you out of bed? How do you do it, man?
It's I'm part of a nice community, and we all have amazing services to do for. All our services are meant for the welfare of others, actually. So I'm one part of I'm engaged in some welfare activity, as you are, and as Bhaktirupa you are as well. And so this is the Hare Krishna movement. Whatever you do, you're gonna be helping others, and you're gonna be benefiting others, and giving love to others. So. I just try to plug in the group, plug in the association of the saintly people, and just follow the direction of the senior monks and senior spiritually advanced people who know how to guide us, and by just following their example, we can do amazing things. So I'm simply being asked to do things, and I try to do them with enthusiasm, and knowing that it's gonna be the greatest thing I can do with my time and my energy and my life.
So I got a question here for both of you. You can chip in on this Bhaktirupa as well. So this is the Bible proverb, right? That everyone knows.
I love the Bible.
It's better to give than receive is from the Bible. Everyone knows that.
Mm.
Like you were saying earlier in our Atma, we've got the slogan, the more you give, the more you grow.
Mm.
Yeah.
By giving to people, you go out of your comfort zone and you actually start to develop yourself as a person. So if I was so this is from the Bible, right? This is from some proverb. It is more virtuous to give or yield something than to receive something. Is that true? And if it is, why?
What does virtuous mean? Can we Google that?
I can do it if you want. Virtuous.
One second, I can say, ask Siri, I'll race you. Hey Siri, what does virtuous mean?
I typed in it wrong. I've
It
typed in
means-
virtuous. It's a video game developer.
Okay, cool. Well, Siri tells me that virtuous
Singapore.
It means having or showing high moral standards.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your quote again?
Well, it's a Bible quote.
Yeah.
It's I've lost it now.
It's more virtuous to give.
It's more virtuous to give or yield something. I guess yield means the same thing as give, than to receive something. Now, most people would say that's true, wouldn't they? Most people would say, yeah, I think it's better to give than receive. I remember one of my friends, he really enjoyed buying everyone else Christmas presents.
Mm.
But, yeah.
It does seem like it's almost like naturally coded into like the atmosphere of this universe. Like if you give up stuff, you get more back. You know, like it's like it like doesn't make sense like materially or logically. Like okay, I've given away this thing, now I don't have it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting, by giving stuff up or helping others or serving or doing something selfless like that, it's like the universe or Krishna has like a interesting way in repaying that, and you get a different situation down the road. I've heard like an analogy, like if you have something and you like give it away, then you have two hands to receive, to receive something better,
Mm-hmm.
So like it's a bit like that.
Mm.
We have free hands then, because if you always cling on to something, what you cling on to might not even be that good.
Yeah, I had a similar example that said something like, imagine if you have a whole group of people, if everyone's just giving, then you've got more hands giving to you than you can accept, right?
Yeah,
if everyone's giving something, then you've got more people giving. But if everyone's trying to take, then there's nothing for you to have if everyone's trying to take something like that.
Yeah.
There's more
Like
hands.
if no one's giving, what are you going to take if no one's giving anything? If everybody's trying to take.
There's more hands that can give to you than you can possibly accept. And if you're taking, there's more hands in the world that are taking than you can possibly
Seems legit, right?
something like that, yeah.
So it would seem that I forgot what virtuous means. Hey Siri, what does virtuous mean?
High moral principles, you said, wasn't it?
Having or showing high moral standards.
Yeah.
So it's more moral to give than to receive. Sorry, my head's a bit out there today. So Parjanya and you boys are gonna have to carry this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you give, it's natural. You feel happy. I mean, you experience some happiness when you give something. If you,
Mm-hmm.
It's like you don't keep for yourself. I was thinking about giving that. In our philosophy, we say giving, but we try to understand that actually we don't really own anything, so we don't really give anything. We only give back what we received.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever we have is we have it because it's been given to us. So we don't really think we're giving. We just mean we're giving it back.
Mm.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, because you don't really own anything, do you? You come into this world with nothing,
Yeah.
leave with nothing,
Yeah.
and you just think things are, in one sense, everything's going to get taken away at the end.
Yeah.
And if you give things, it's called pre-emptive giving. If you give it away before it's taken, then you get credit. Like there's that story about these two men that are driving. One owes the other one money, like I don't know, 20 pounds or something. And then a robber comes and goes, stick him up, give us all your money. And he goes, yeah, okay, just a second. He goes, hey, Bill, remember that 20 quid I owe you? Here it is. And then the robber takes it all, 'Cause if you can give it back before it gets taken away anyway, then you get credit.
Yeah.
It's like in the Vedic, in like the ancient Indian like texts and stuff, it says like a farmer should offer a certain amount of grains to Vishnu, like that, to basically God. And like there's stories of like there's a big windstorm or something, and it just blows all of the grain away in the wind. And as it's blowing away, the farmer's like, "There you go, Vishnu is for you."
Right.
It's like this idea of like that doesn't count, like because ultimately everything's gonna get taken away from us in time.
Yeah.
Like the waves of time are like death's approaching. Hate to break it to you, but like everything that you hold physically with your hands, like every item materially, is going to be taken away by those winds of time. So why not give it up a bit earlier, and then you'll get some benefit. Like Tom, there's a guy called Tom, he's a druid from Swansea.
Yeah, I know Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas, he's really nice. He writes,
Oh yeah, Tom. Yeah.
yeah, he writes like children's books and stuff, but like I met him on the street on book distribution like last week, and he gave me like a nice donation, and I was just like, I was like, you don't have to give donation, because he always gives a donation. I felt a bit guilty. Well, not guilty, just like you don't have to. And he goes, he said this with like real, almost like realization. He was like, it doesn't belong to me anyway. It never belonged to me. He said, I'm just the steward. Like this money is just mine for now. So why not give it back? But like the potency of his words, it like touched my heart, because he actually said it in like a very real way. It was like, this money isn't even mine, and like that concept that like nothing belongs to me.
Yeah.
It's like a high level mindset.
Yeah.
Because it means that you disentangle yourself from so much anxiety and stress. Because so much anxiety and stress is entangled with this desire to possess something that we can't. You can't catch the smoke. Like it's. So when he's
for me, it was like natural to give, because you didn't feel like, oh, it's mine, so I give it because I'm just passing it on. Kind of, it's not mine. So, but then I was thinking, if you think it's yours, if you then when you give, you're like, oh, I give this to you, so there's a sense of pride. This is mine, and I give it to you.
Yeah.
So I'm great. But if you think, well, it's not mine anyway, and I'm just passing it on, I received it, here's for you.
Thanks.
So there's no sense of pride, like it's just, I wasn't meant necessarily to get it, and I'm giving it to you, and you're gonna benefit. And
yeah, what's the
in the Gita it talks about that, right? Is that what you're gonna say?
No.
Okay. No, I was just talking about like different types of charity, like different. Like if you give some charity and you're like, I don't really want to give this, but I do it because it makes me look good or whatever. That's like passionate charity. But like good charity is actually like, take this charity. I don't expect anything back. I'm not attached to it. I'm just giving it out of a sense of duty,
Yeah.
But like the potency of that is actually quite powerful. Like actually giving in that mindset. It's like, does it have more value if you give? Does it, like the type of charity you give, or the type of, does the consciousness that you give the charity in affect the result? This is a real genuine question to either of you two.
Yeah, it does affect the result, because like you said in Bhagavad Gita, there's different modes of nature, and whatever you do something in a certain mode, then you cultivate that mode, and there's a hierarchy. So if you give in the mode of goodness, or if you give more selflessly, then you get it affects your consciousness in a better way than if you gave in. Sometimes you can give in almost a crippled mentality. You can give with begrudgingly.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, and it's also what you give counts as well. For example, they say, if you see a lot of homeless or like drunks on the street, if you give them money, and I used to know a lot who are like this. I'm not saying they're all like that, but they go spend the money then on drugs or drink, and it just fuels the problem. So Krishna explains such charity as that is called it's in the mode of ignorance, because actually you're actually binding them and you more and more in the material, perplexities. But I was thinking one thing I appreciate, since we've got Parjanya here, he's a good example of someone who gives spiritual knowledge, spiritual technology, in terms of the books or the chanting. But the way that's done is, I've noticed, you give people your time. And as Chandaka Pandit describes, time is actually much more valuable than money, because once a second goes by, you can't buy back that second, no matter how much money you have in the bank. You know? You could spend millions and millions of pounds, but you can't buy one single second back of your life. So, you know, I always, you know, appreciate how I see a lot of the devotees, or anyone actually, who actually gives their time for other people. You know, and you get that. I remember seeing it was a while ago, but like, what's his name? Matrix, Keanu Reeves. Oh, yeah. You know, he sat down and he speaks to these homeless people and stuff like that. You know, and you know, time is precious, but when you give your time to people, then that's actually greatly appreciated. And because it's our most expensive commodity, then that means something. You know, like you're giving your time now to listen to this podcast, for example. You know, what we invest our time in, it also determines our future and determines our consciousness. You know? So if we can learn to give our time to people, because that's what time people need, is they just want some time. Yeah. You know, and if you wander around and you just, you know, give the impression that you just don't have time for anyone, or sometimes we think like, oh, I don't have time for this person, that person. But then, like you're getting married at the end of the year, right, or something like that. So it's one of the things. Okay, I've got to sacrifice my time, or we have to sacrifice our time for each other, sort of thing. And we should do that with our family, loved ones, and because before we know it, then that's gone. You know. Those are some thoughts.
Yeah, reminds me of the thing you always quote this quote that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And it's very true. Yeah. But also about the act of giving, I was thinking. Giving our time, and we're trying to give everything at the end of the day. We're trying to give everything to God. We're trying to give everything back to Krishna. So we're chanting Hare Krishna, right? We're chanting, and we're trying to give our attention to chanting and hearing, and we're trying to hear as well. Trying to hear, if you're trying to hear someone, like when someone's speaking and you're trying to hear, it's almost like you're surrendering, and you have to stop. You know, sometimes someone's speaking, and while that person's speaking, you're trying to think about what you're gonna say, and so that you're not really giving up your thoughts, neither you. So the real like giving is you're giving your attention, and you're giving your ear. So you're giving everything. So there's nothing to, sometimes we're a bit scared to lose our. For example, we're chanting Hare Krishna, and we're thinking, I need to think about my life, my problems, so many things, But actually, the process of surrender, of hearing, is to just hear and trust that the holy name is so powerful that it will take care of everything. You don't have to do anything other than give your attention. So that's like
that's very
giving everything, basically, your mind, your thoughts, your. That's what we're trying to do, isn't it?
Yeah, especially like in spiritual life, isn't it? We're trying to give our attention to Krishna. Yeah. And the example is given, like you might have a husband and a wife, and he might give his money. He might buy her so many things, some nice cars, nice holidays. Might actually give her a lot in terms of material assets and wealth and whatever they might want materially. But if he never talks to her, then the relationship finishes. Yeah. So we have to give ourselves to, and especially when it comes to spiritual life, if we just focus on the externals all the time, but don't actually give our real heart and attention to developing that loving relationship with Krishna, then it's also we're not really giving ourselves.
It's kind of interesting, because like a lot of people say, if God's real, why doesn't he speak to me?
Yeah.
Why doesn't he speak to me? But like that point you're making is like, we try and pay attention, we try and hear. And actually hear these spiritual messages, hear the Hare Krishna mantra. And God is speaking to you at all times. Like, Gopal's called it cosmic sensitivity training. Like this whole world, this whole environment that we exist in, God is always trying to speak to us. But are we really listening? Are we really looking for that spiritual essence that underlies, like, and most of the time, if we're honest with ourselves, we're not. Like, we're thinking, okay, when's the podcast? I wonder if I can go and get some food downstairs. Or if there's some sweets or a bit of fruit or something. Like anything, like your mind's whirring somewhere else.
Well, that's the value, isn't it, of having the Bhagavad Gita, because even then, if, talk about cosmic sensitivity training, you could, if you are a bit, if you've got your ear to the ground a little bit in your life, you can sort of understand what, maybe what the Supreme wants of you, but then that's very tricky. That's why if just by opening the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan literally means the Supreme, and Gita means song. When you hear God sing, it'll change your life. So if someone says, why doesn't God speak to me? Well, he comes, on the grand scale of things in terms of material time, Krishna comes every day of Brahma, and even so often, so he comes every day to speak to the living entities. There's so many different prophets, or sometimes he comes himself, sends his prophet or his son, as Prabhupada would say, in different countries and cultures all over the world regularly. It's still people say, I don't know, why doesn't God speak to me? Well, he spoke the Bhagavad Gita, it's all written down, and you can open it any time and hear God speak to you, and it won't be, it won't be airy-fairy, it won't be vague, but it can be very precise. And then you also have, like we said before, we should all search out a spiritual teacher, who's someone who's actually also dedicated their life to giving, and then once we find such a person, we should follow in their footsteps. And that's what you get. That's what a line of spiritual teachers is a line of givers. Those who have really given themselves to Krishna and given themselves to others. And then we see someone like that, we think, hey, I want to be like that as well, because it's so attractive. So I want to be. So then we also follow in those footsteps, and we try and be givers. And then when we give to other people, when they realize how valuable this spiritual life is, then they just want to give it to others, and that's how it increases. That's how love, Ananda Bharivarjanam, that's how the ocean of love increases eternally.
Yes, that's nice what you just said. Like, I was hearing from Jai Shetty. Everybody knows Jai Shetty. He was saying, you cannot want to be someone you've never seen before. You want to be a millionaire because you've heard or you've seen a millionaire, or you want to be a footballer or a musician or something because you've seen it, you've seen someone else doing it. So unless you see some genuine devotees of God, great advanced spiritual people, you won't feel like, you won't even think about becoming one of them, becoming like that, because you need to be exposed first to something to have the desire to become like that. Does it make sense?
That's why we've got you on the podcast, Virginia.
But that's the thing. I'm inspired by you and like those who do that.
This Parjanya guy, who might be.
It's literally we're just copying. It's like, wow, this guy is great. Let me try to be like that person. To do to follow in his or her footsteps. And then that's how it works.
Yeah. Max Ruper's just going like this 3, 2, 1 because the Bhagavad Gita is.
The charity splits.
Yeah, exactly.
The actions of great men, common men follow.
Yeah.
And the standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues.
Wow.
So it reminds me exactly what you opened the podcast. You said something quite powerful, like that little opening thing that you said. I can't remember, but you said like I'm just doing what the people that are like more spiritually experienced.
What the great people are doing.
Yeah, you're just doing what they tell you to do. Like we've got really good examples here in Wales. We've got Tarknath, Gopal, Dayalu, Mishrani. So many.
I'm not a very good example.
I'll
take what I can get.
Like a lot, like yeah, you are good. Well, I don't want to embarrass you, but like a lot of the boys, including myself, are like trying to follow in your nice little feet steps.
I know what I am. But you got, but yeah, I mean it is important to have examples, and the spiritual principle. If you give, you will be looked after. Yeah, like Tarknath, who's the one who started this Krishna conscious movement in Wales, pretty much, single-handedly. He started the Yatra and the temples and built restaurants, and he, one of his first-hand realizations is that if you focus your life on giving Krishna to others, then you will be looked after. Krishna will see. You have a cup of or consciousness, like container. So if your cup is full, if your cup's empty, it'll just be filled with your own worries. Oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I pay my bill? But if it's already full with anxiety for others and for giving Krishna to others, then we've got no room to be worried about ourselves. And Krishna actually takes care of everything. What was I going to say? Something. There was one other point. Yeah, that's it. Even if you have depression and you go to psychologists, one of the things a lot of them say, even to do with materially, is if you actually start focusing on helping others rather than your own problems. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains one of the austerities of the mind is to be satisfied. And one should get that by always training the mind to always thinking of doing good for others. If you can train, and it takes effort, but if we can train our mind like that, so you're always thinking of the benefit of others, then that distracts us from our own problems, and actually realize a lot of our problems will get sorted out if you just care for others.
It puts your problems into perspective as well, because you see that you're actually like a tiny drop. Like, say for instance, I think I said this before, but if you have like a pint glass and you put a spoon of salt in it and drink it, it's gonna be disgusting, right? Like salty, like really unpleasant. You can't. But if you put that same spoonful of salt in a big like pool or a vat full of water and then drink that, it's like it actually enhances the flavor of the water. So it's like understanding that other people, like if you try and help others, if you try and approach the world in a compassionate way, then your problems, when they come, it doesn't have the same, like, it's because you're not just focusing on yourself. You're not the center of reality anymore. You're not just that little,
It's a spiritual principle. You have sukha and dukkha. Sukha means happiness in Sanskrit, and su means ka means space, and su means expanded. So as you think of others, you expand your space, and that's sukha. It helps you be more happy. On a subtle level, your like aura, so to speak, is open. Dukkha, means like closed, ka space, so contracted space. So the more we start to worry about ourselves and more sort of selfish and become a bit more crippled, then we actually become more and more unhappy because you're closing the space in on yourself. So you're almost suffocating yourself.
Feels like that too, right?
Yeah. It's got all these things go on a subtle level, isn't it? So and then you could be sukhanara, a happy human. A human being we're meant to think of others and try and advance spiritually. Sometimes it is hard, and it's not like the first thing they teach you in paramedic school apparently is a dead paramedic can't save anyone, so you have to look after yourself. Or like in the planes, isn't it? When we went to Hungary, they say make sure you put your own mask on before helping the person next to you. Because if you're dead, you're not going to be no good to anyone. So we need to have that balance. We need to look after ourselves, be balanced to our own life, but also not forget about helping others.
Nice.
Yeah.
Krishna says, isn't it? Like, one who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil.
Yeah.
Like in that.
I used to know that verse. I forgot it now.
I just said that's a little part of it because that's what I remember. But yeah. And one something that's really struck me recently, this year, is I read this book from Bhakti Tirtha Swami, a spiritual warrior, transforming lust into love, and he explains that life is the school of love. This principle that life is the school of love, and we are meant to understand and develop our real loving nature. That we are loving beings. That's what we are made for. Love. That's what we're made for, and so we are honoring who we are by giving to others. We are honoring who we are actually. So when we don't give, or when we try to take, we're not acting as who we are, basically. That's not who we are, so we cannot be happy. You can only be happy when you act according to who you are, and who you are is a giver and a loving being. Yeah. So
nice point, Peter.
And that's from Bhakti Tirtha Swami, and and yeah, it's just and then whatever happens in your life is just for you to graduate in that school of life. You mean to learn from whatever comes in your way. You mean it's God personally giving you this, so that you can learn to you can grow and learn to love better.
That's nice. Life is
give better, yeah.
The school of love.
Yeah, life is a school of love, yeah. And we mean to graduate, to go back to the spiritual.
Graduate in the school of love. That's nice. We might use that podcast.
It's really.
It's good title.
Yeah. Thanks, Parjanya.
Cheers, PJ.
Thank you, all our listeners.
Excellent.
And
talking about giving.
Oh yeah.
What?
Are you thinking about?
Oh no, because obviously we like to give out the spiritual wisdom on the street.
Yeah.
Do the the book distribution, giving out these ancient texts and that. And like you say, the more you give, the more you grow, the more you feel. So PJ's in charge of our MSF, isn't it?
Monthly Sankirtan Festival.
Speak about it. You know more than me. Like.
So it's once a month, at least once a month, we focus on. So we gather all together and we go out in the streets and we give out spiritual wisdom to others in the form of books, right?
Mm-hmm.
We give out books, the Bhagavad Gita, which is the main one, and other spiritual books to give to others, to share, and to try to reach out to others. That's the highest, the best thing you can give is spiritual knowledge, and so that's what we're doing. So we're having our next monthly Sankirtan festival on the 4th of June, and everybody is welcome to take part. It will be.
Can I just say one thing though about giving out spiritual knowledge? Right, everyone wants to get higher. Yeah? Everyone's looking for. Am I the only one? Or? We all want to be. Yeah. So like, if you want to feel like a real high, try giving out a Bhagavad Gita. Like, the first Bhagavad Gita you give out, it's better than any drug. Like, there's like, because there's like some, I don't know if that's like for me, just from my experience, like there's like some kind of spiritual, because there's like a spiritual underline to this whole movement, the Hare Krishna movement. If anyone sat in a kirtan and felt like a little flutter in their heart and been like, what's this? What's going on? So like the same thing when you give out these books. Yeah. I don't know if that's...
We were discussing this morning we were reading from one very intimate book about God called the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and we were reading that when you give spiritual knowledge about God to others, God comes personally and embraces you, and it makes him smile. Yeah, that's what we were reading. And so we became very dear to the Supreme by giving this knowledge to others. Basically, it makes God smile.
That's what they said. They went to Prabhupada and said, when we distribute books, we get this really nice feeling. What is it? Prabhupada said, that is Lord Chaitanya's embrace. Yeah. But yeah, the monthly Sankirtan festival is something. I think it's important because a community, you need something in common, and having just everyone getting together, in a sort of the joyful mood of giving books, and we give out like cookies and just giving love to the public, just really, puts us all together as a community and really gives us life. Yeah. Like the example is breathing. If you need to breathe constantly, so that you need to come out of and touch the public is like getting the oxygen and then bringing it in, and then a community needs to do that. Otherwise you'll have like, without giving, then you start to have problems amongst each other. You start to have little arguments. You start just these little things, and it builds up. But if as a community we can go together and actually contact the public and give spiritual knowledge to people and bring people into the community in order to experience it, then it becomes really, really fresh. So the monthly Sankirtan festival is such an essential part of social engineering, of building the spiritual community in Wales, in experiencing something ourselves that, like you were saying, Bhakti-Rupa, that's high, something that's higher than a higher quality than the general experience. And that's what happens when you do spiritual activity together. That's why it's the Sankirtan movement. You have a certain flavor when you're doing it on yourself, in your own personal practice. If you do it all together, then you actually experience something that's higher. That even Rupa Goswami said, when you do Sankirtan together, when you do these spiritual activities as a group, then you can get experience of ecstasy that's actually beyond your qualification to experience. But because you're doing it together, then Krishna gives you that. Yeah.
Well, people say that, like, even in a kirtan, isn't it? Like, wow, that I felt very like connected to everyone around me, like in a different way. I was speaking to Callum, who comes to the Wednesdays, and he was mentioning that. Yeah. Whenever he does kirtan, he feels like a way deeper sense of connection. He's been to football games and chanted together at the football games. That's one thing. There's a flavour in that, but there's something special about this.
Because it's not really loving, it's not in a football game, I guess, you know, it's like me against you, you know.
Used to be a big football fan, didn't you?
Yeah. PJ just
I
lit
was
up,
like,
yes, finally.
I've been to the what do you call it? Not the hooligans, but the people that are really into it, like who sing and, you know, with the flags and stuff. I've been with them in my city a little bit, and
Swansea,
Jack
Army, Jack Army,
and it's great. You feel
Jack
we
Army.
hate Cardiff. We hate Cardiff.
So yeah, you feel a sense of we're together. But the problem is that we're together, but it's just a few of us against someone. It's always against someone.
That's it.
Me
We
against
hate
you.
Cardiff. Like it's like
So it's
Swansea.
all
Every game, Swansea. We hate Cardiff.
Yeah.
It's like what? What is about hate? You're together. Anyway. So
Yeah,
carry
but
on.
spiritual togetherness is like it's me, you, and everyone else, and it's like it's not against anyone.
Just against the principle of materialism. And
Yeah, it's
Anyway.
against our craziness, you know, against our.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's fun and easy. All you got to do is hit the pavement.
Yeah.
Like you just literally have to go there to Atma. When's the date, Parjanya?
The
you
date.
said just now, didn't
So
you?
we're meeting the 4th of June on. It's going to be a Saturday, and at 10 a.m. in Atma Lounge, Cardiff, Capital Centre.
So this coming Saturday, if you're listening to this around the time that it came out, come along. Atma
Please
Lounge.
come along. Yeah.
It'd be cool. We have some food, isn't it? Some.
Yeah, so the program is there will be we're gonna discuss first. We're gonna talk and discuss about it and get some inspiration from advanced devotees like Taikanath Prabhu and Gopal Roy Prabhu, and then we're gonna and then we are going to go out, little teams go out, and we'll come back, have a nice dinner and share our stories and experiences and inspire one another and be ready for the next month.
Sold. The way you've said dinner, I want to come. Dinner.
Dinner.
Yeah, it's like.
Cooked by Achyutatma Prabhu, who is a very great cook.
Yeah. Nice. Thanks, PJ.
Thank you, Parjanya.
Thank you, Prabhu.
And thanks to all our beautiful listeners. And
Yeah.
we'll be back again.
You are beautiful.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Madhashikshana Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinam